Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of PlungeCast here in New Zealand, Whangarei. It's a beautiful day, sunny outside, and I'm here inside my room with the curtains drawn, with the light on my face and light above me so you guys can see me quite well, or else you get the glare from the sun on my left-hand side. So thank you for joining us. I am so excited for this one. As you know, we did a live stream just before. My embarrassment, forget to tell people that we live in the future. And so we got Stuart to join us here now with Hawke from Rises and Comics. Stuart, he will tell you all about his new store over there in Houston. And I'm quite excited to connect with people all around the world because it just gives us so much more to talk about and so much more interesting people to get to know. So today, of course, we're going to be talking about, our Kickstarter that's on live right now on Kickstarter, of course. Incredi-Girl #1 on Kickstarter, the gathering of the 5. Of course, this is one of 6 in the series. It's about a New Zealand-based superhero. It's a very different way how they get their powers, and it's a limited number of people that have the powers. And so all these people are trying to get other people to get powers, the clandestine groups. But I don't want to give too much away. All I want to tell you is that she's here to help. That's all, that's all you need to know. She's not here to do anything, tell you anything you need, her ideas and stuff. She's just here to help. As a superhero, a hero to help. So I just want to thank everybody so far who are backing it. I'm sure Hawke is going to talk about that later. And, shout out to our backers. If you've seen the latest color page, doesn't it look awesome from Hugo? Quite excited about that. And also, I want to welcome Stuart. For those who don't know, he's just opened a comic store over in Houston. So, Stuart, please tell us a bit about yourself.
My name's Big Stu, or Stuart Blackwater. I'm originally from Orlando, Florida, and I decided to come here to the small town of Borger, Texas, and open up a toy shop and toy and comic shop. The shop is called 1.21 Gigawatts, Comics, Toys, and Nostalgia. So I specialize in anything that can scratch that nostalgia itch for you guys.
Awesome. I was just listening to that thing.
What's that?
Gigawatts, right?
Yeah, gigawatts.
So we say gigawatts. Isn't it weird, right?
The actual pronunciation is gigawatts, but in the movie that I took it from it says gigawatts.
Right.
They're the whole sequence on it.
Guess what? Here's the in front of me is always my DVD. It's the only place I could have it, right?
Right.
This is what I picked up maybe within the last week or so.
Excellent. That's awesome, man. Is it the first one? It's the 3-pack, huh? It's all 3 movies.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's a good disc set to have.
I think, and you know how much I paid for it?
What's that?
From a hospice, so probably around about $5.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So, we were talking about off screen there. We were about Transformers. Same thing here, right?
Right.
I was able to pick this up for probably about $11, and this is probably won't let me. Oh no, it's a weird one, right? The mask.
Oh yeah, I used to have that one. I had that one when it first came out. Well, years ago.
How much did you pay for it?
I got it for my birthday actually, but that's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah, it transforms from Optimus Prime.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's
isn't
sweet.
it weird? I love this.
Don't forget the head's got to pop up.
Carry on.
The head's got to pop up. There's a head right there on the front. No, on the front. I think it flips up.
Right.
I know my toys.
See, so if you're in Houston or in the area in Texas, you know who to go to talk to if you want to, if you want to talk about toys. So
so I'm not super close to Houston, but I'm the only comic toy shop in about a 50-mile radius there, Hawke?
Yeah. It's about 50, 60, 70 miles, And
yeah.
The first one you get to, that's headed west.
Yeah.
I remember this is about 2018 when we set up our one. There was nothing in our area, so the closest one from us is 2 hours away.
Oh yeah.
Right, in the city, Auckland City. So, like, it was like the #1 store in Northland, right? Because there was no other store there.
That's right.
You remember what happened to Rue? As soon as you got it open, like as soon as he got it open, it was like pop, 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 pop. Like all of these other stores just like started like going off like crazy. Yeah.
Well, that's how, like, success breeds success, right? Or followers, right? Leadership breeds followers. So I've noticed that, like, every time you come up with something original, somebody, well, not so original, but something, if you decide to start something locally yourself, somebody will always go, oh, why don't I do it? Because it looks so easy. And at the end of the day, it can be easy, but then there's challenges. If you're in a niche market, it's a niche market of audiences and customers. So you got to make sure that you, the business and the customers there are enough to support all those stores if you're going to have all those stores. But usually I found was like that. You'll realize within about 6 months how small the niche market can be. And if you try to divide that, it becomes, it causes some sort of schism between, I'm going to go to this one or that one. But I think the great thing about comic fans and toy fans is they're very loyal. If you treat them well, they're really loyal. They'll stick with you for decades. And I think, as like, even though my shop is no longer, and this is like, what, about 5-6 years ago, whatever, 2015, sorry, I should say, is no more, 8 years ago. I still have friends from that. Out of that store has come out so many great things. Like, out of that store has come out a group called Shadow Realm, right? They're up to 60 members over that time. In 8 years, there have been kids that have gone to that. It's a card gaming, Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of Pokemon gaming group that was set up through the store. And, I just said, here's a room, go play. And if you want cards, I'll bring it in. I didn't know nothing about cards at that time, And so years later, these guys are actually supporting me now as I run my convention. They put on tables, they put on games, they put on top tournaments, events. Now they come back to support me. This is the loyalty of having the pop culture, comic book, and card game. All these sort of fans. People always poo-poo fans. They say, oh, they have too much attitude or they want too much. Dude, we are fans. So we always argue amongst ourselves about what's, if this toy is better than that toy, or if if the quality of the product looks better than the original or whatever, but like, this is what keeps fandoms going for decades, right? This is why Star Wars still exists, that you can actually have a Mandalorian TV show since the 70s, since the original TV movie came out.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna let you guys talk a bit now. Is Austin one of our artists there from Rising Sun, or is he a friend of yours there?
What is it? I'm sorry.
I had Austin L. Brooks say hello.
Hey, Austin. Yes, Austin Brooks. This guy right here is a machine. I'm telling you, this guy is amazing. Austin is
Send him a link.
Yeah. We'll get him in here. We'll get him in here. I think he's watching.
Yeah, Austin, if you want to jump in, you're most welcome, man. Come on in. So tell us about this the store first, Stuart.
So what I wanted to make the store look like is I wanted, when you walked in the door, that it would take you back in time. That's essentially the name of the store. The reason the store is its name. I wanted you to feel like you went to the past a little bit. When you walk in the store, right off the rip is the largest play set that ever was created was the USS Flag from G.I. Joe. 7.5 foot long, 2.5 feet wide aircraft carrier. And I have the 3 holy grails of collecting for G.I. Joe collecting right there as you walk in. So I wanted something to grab somebody. And then I have two little rooms kind of set like cubby rooms, like cubicles. Right. And one I kind of tried to set up like a teenager's room from the 80s. You know, if he was able to get everything that he wanted, there's an old school TV, there's a Nintendo hooked up to it, you know, VHS tapes and DVD.
Wait. 80s and Nintendo?
Yeah. Nintendo came out in 1985.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking more about a VIC-20 and Commodore 64.
No.
Or an Atari like my dad had, which disappeared.
All of those came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah. So yeah. So Nintendo system. I got an original Nintendo system over there. But I just wanted everybody to think. My thing about collecting and you know, comic books, toys, or whatever, it brings you back to a certain time that is just pure and genuine, you know. And I literally bought a collection of Barbie dolls from a woman the other day, and she's going over all the Barbies of what they are, right? Yeah. And she holds one in her hands, and she's like, and this one was my favorite. And she stops for a second, right?
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I'm going to buy all of your Barbies from you, except that one. I ain't buying that one. I said, you need to take that one, put it in your office, put it in somewhere on a shelf somewhere. That Barbie doll takes you back someplace where you were purely innocent, and you need to still have that. Yep. So that's what I want to provide to the people in Borger, you know, and even further, I'm trying to get an online presence with my eBay store and things like that. So I just really love doing this. I love having people come in and just talk. I mean, Hawke and Raj and his name escapes me right now. We're all here last Saturday.
Great
Spent the whole day here, you know, just chilling out and hanging out, talking comic books, talking collecting, talking everything, you know. And it was just it was a good time.
Well, I mean, bookstores have become as a geek and nerd haven. Like, that's our heaven, you know. Like, if you provide a genuine friendly environment, you'll find that people will come to it. I remember when I was setting up my store, one of the first things I did was to figure out what was the best store in the world, comic store, and what made it tick. So it happened to be one in Aussie, right, in Australia. And one of the things they said was that if you want females to come, have the place smell nice, right? Have the place smell nice. You know that us guys can get a bit grotty if we're in there for a couple of hours, right? Toe jams, as we like to say in New Zealand, you know, gets a bit smelly with the shoes out there running around. Coming out of school, after school, we had, you know, games on and stuff, you know, running around playing rugby and stuff, and so on. And so I would basically have a air freshener, air spray, and I'd spray on the guy's boots, and they'll be fine with it. They knew why it was. They wouldn't even look at, you know, I go, yep, sorry, mate, spray your boots before you come in. All good. You know, or underarm deodorant, yep, here we go. Cool. Because they also knew it was an environment where they could bring their friends to, or their girlfriends to, or mum and dad, and they'll be happy. You know, and then nobody will be. And the other thing was no swearing. You know, you got to go, listen, man, I've got 5-year-old kids coming here. I don't want you swearing your mouth off while you're in that room playing games. They're going to hear you. You're going to put those guys off, and the parents are going to go, I'm not taking my kid into there again. I've lost customers, you know. So I kind of looked into all that, and I said, well, if right from the start, I was like, you guys are here to help me, and I'm going to do as much as I can to provide a friendly environment for you guys to enjoy. Bring your kids. You know, we had some older people, you know, hang out, bring your kids, play in the corner, whatever, have the TV on and all this stuff. But I think, you know, it is our heaven, and it's, you know, it's our little paradise away from everything. And, you know, the comic stores that I've gone to, I've spent hours there, you know, where people do that because they just go through all the things, you know, and pick out the one book that they can afford and another couple that they, you know, that are cheaper that you can add to the list, you know. Right. And then you walk away and you go home, read for the weekend, and you're done. And then you wait for the next weekend to go. And plus, it's a place of like-minded people that you make friends with.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can't be happier with the store I've got. You know, some days I end the day just like, well, that sucked, with nobody coming in, but then of course you have the days where you have steady traffic, and it's hit and miss. And luckily we live in a town that has a little bit of a lower cost of living. So it allows me to keep the store open and have those slim days,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm trying to add events, try to do something every weekend or something like that, so that people will come in. The first big event that we decided was a comic book swap meet, and that starts a little bit before the store opens. And one of the things is I have Saturday morning cartoons playing on the big screen TV.
Yeah.
All day, so I find a YouTube thing with all the from like one of the channels that they recorded for like the whole day, and I put it up there. It's up there for 3 hours, and playing the Saturday morning cartoons. It's so anybody wants to come in and sit down, they sit down and watch it. I don't care.
The other thing I used to do was like actually on the screen was like have documentaries about comics.
Yeah.
And creators actually talk about the history of like the history of Image, or Liefeld doing his Deadpool things, or putting on old Incredible Hulk shows and stuff like that. I actually bought DVDs of like 1940s or 50s Captain America, to play, because it was like, look, this is what it used to be like. You could have, now you have all this, you have friggin' awesome costumes. In those days, it was just like a little sewn on things, whereas now you've got CGI and all that.
Don't complain about the bad CGI today. Look what we had to deal with, 30 years ago, not much less 80 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, technology has come such a long way that you could do crazy stuff now. Create an entire world, which would cost millions if we're going to build one, right? Because you have to make all the sets and stuff. And I think I love the animatronics side of things, where the actual physical things in in the older movies, with like Indiana Jones and stuff, and where you could actually see the beautiful sets come. It just looks so touchable. But the other thing is like with your store, you said you're buying stuff as well. Now, how does that process work?
So what I do is I tell people straight up front that I cannot pay collector prices for things.
Yeah.
I have kind of a set price on what I try to, an average price. So if they bring me a bunch of comic books, like a big box of comic books, I got an idea of how much I want to pay per book. And then I get an estimate of how many books are in the box, and then I make an offer.
Right.
And most people are very, very cool about it. Some people will, give me the whole, well, it's worth this. I'm like, yeah, well, you can get that for that. Go ahead and put it on eBay. Go ahead and open up your own store and do that. I can't. I have to sit on it. I have to price it. So basically, I offer them a little bit more money for trade.
Yeah.
Versus cash, because if I've whatever I've traded, I didn't spend what my price tag is on it. I didn't spend anywhere near that. So give you an example, my VHS tapes. My VHS tapes I sell for $3 a piece, unless there's and I'm getting ready to go through those to find first edition VHS.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that there's a collecting market for VHS.
This is something I just recently walked into, because I don't know what it was on YouTube, and there's some guy was talking about those, and I was like thinking, really? So I mean, I've got these ones here because of where are we? Because of them being Star Wars, right?
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So
those are the good ones.
Yeah. So these are like unmarked, like usually they have like the store hire things and all that, but this is from 1992 release, so it's not that long ago. Is that like 21 years? No, is that 41? 31? I get it all wrong. And this is a 1980, 94. Oh no, it's a 1984, but it's a 92 release, right?
Oh, wow.
So the other one you've got is these things.
Oh, the gold
You know, the
edition.
box?
The gold
Yeah,
edition.
yeah.
Yep,
So-
the re-edits.
So you've got
Those
that.
were the remasters, weren't they? The gold edition.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
remasters.
Yeah, special edition.
So what,
So-
you know,
And
oh,
Right.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
so it's kind of it's had better days, of course.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they released episode 2 and episode 3 on VHS in the United States.
Oh, okay. So it's
I don't think they did. Did they?
I don't think they did. I think I think the only one that you could get on VHS was episode 1 back in the
Okay.
day, and then he. But I mean, I may be wrong. I mean, I never
Well-
was able, but I wasn't looking for VHS back when they came out either. So.
I wasn't either.
Yeah. So
But
guess
look at
what?
there.
I have this one, right?
They're both
So I
clamshells.
Episode 2? Oh, they're both episode 2. Okay.
Yeah. So that I don't know how it ended up with that, but of course there's the Phantom Menace one. And yeah, so just I have no idea I'll end up with 2 of those. I take a clone. But yeah, I think I was quite surprised to see that people were out there searching for first editions. And it's everything goes around, right? Everything goes back. You know, anything
Right.
retro becomes hip over time. You know, bell bottoms became hip, you know, in the 90s, and nobody wanted to touch them in the 80s, you know.
Well, I was telling somebody the other day, actually yesterday, I said, you know, with the new interest in VHS tapes, I wouldn't be surprised if you went into Target or Walmart next year and started seeing VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Or selling VHS players.
Is there really a
players.
resurgence
Yeah.
in VHS?
There really is. I mean,
Yeah.
I just ordered a first
like vinyl.
edition. Yeah, I just ordered a first edition Back to the Future VHS tape today, and it's coming in.
Yeah.
It's coming in next week. But I saw one of those that was still sealed in the box, and they have a grading system. CGC
Oh, yeah.
grades those.
They
Yeah.
do.
And saw one graded for $16,000.
What?
Yeah,
$16,000?
$16,000 for a VHS tape for a dead, you know, an obsolete media, you know.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
but
Yeah.
What was it?
think about it. It's you know, you have those. You have, you know, you think about it. I was telling Hawke and those guys last week.
Mm.
Even some comic books, they go to the point where they're absolutely worth zero. Like I had the entire run of Secret Wars, both Secret Wars 1 and 2. I had doubles of each one.
Mm.
And when I was a teenager, some of my comic shops were literally giving those away to subscribers, to new subscribers or whatever. Here, have this comic book. That's how worthless it was. Now, I wish I just had one set of them, you know. They're not the most valuable comic books in the world now, but they are a heck of a lot more valuable than they were when I got rid of them, you know. And but everything has that point where it goes to zero. Even G.I. Joe. I mean, I was able to put together almost my entire childhood collection for about $200, you know, 15 years ago.
Yeah, that ain't
Can't do
happening
that
now.
now. Can't do that now. No way.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, like for us here in New Zealand, what's made the market sort of speculator blow out. Like 20 years ago, I could pick up a couple books on trade, you know, like on like auctions, right? Like eBay. But for us here in New Zealand, we just trade me very cheap, like a quarter of the price. The same thing, because the fact that there's all the speculator market built up around all these groups on Facebook coming in, all the YouTubers talking about it, and this somehow scarcity of it's just overpriced. You know, like one of my most worst things I've ever done when it came to comics that I should have cut an arm off and sold it I could have had a Wolverine first appearance, right, for $80 New Zealand. But I had just been in an accident a year earlier, in a car accident, so I was unemployed. I was fighting the system, trying to get payment, and so my ex was just the only person working, and we're on a really tight single income budget, going from a double income to a single. And I was like, look, I need this, and she's like, can't afford it, can't afford $80, and to think that is worse than the thousands, right?
Yeah.
And at $80, this is about 2009, right? 2009. And if you look at inflation, what that would, the market for that is now. I was looking at one item yesterday to do to inflation, because I showed the other day, I showed my Spider Jerusalem cold cast 1/1000, 1/1000, whatever, statuette. It was $250 in 2007. It's $350 to inflation now, but it's also signed. And I'm thinking, well, it's about $500,000 now, at the least. And so if you think at $80 then, it's still not that dear, right? It's only around about $150 or something at that point. But to imagine, the comic, like the movies being making it so popular, the scarcity of that old comic book, 181 Incredible Hulk, and the fact that it's the speculators are just basically, there are people out there who can afford to buy 2 or 3 copies and hog them. The worst thing I see about comics when it comes to collectors are those who buy 5 or 6, not because it's because they're trying different gradings or something, but just because they want the prices to keep going up. And I think that's that thing about it that I find kind of, I don't know, kind of a bit jaded when it comes to people collecting. I'm happy with just the one good quality. That's me, and get rid of all the others.
I went through a point in my comic collecting. I don't read anything new nowadays. I don't read anything new. Anything that I read that's new, I want it to be more realistic and grounded. I'm not into the fantastic stuff. But when I had my comic book habit, I had probably about a $300 a month box in my comic book thing.
Yeah.
I had the attitude of like, they're not worth anything. They're disposable entertainment. And then once I'm done with them, I'll bag and board them. I'll keep them just because I want to keep them nice. But I have no interest in I'm not investing money. I'm not expecting them to be valuable. And I told Hawke this story. My comic book shop would, since I had such a huge box, they'd add books that I didn't know that I didn't order, but that they thought that I would like. Right.
Right.
So I would go buy all my books blindly, not even look through them. They would just, they'd go through and give me the total and I'd pay it. And when I get home, I'd go through it and find a book that I didn't order.
Right.
So I kind of got ticked off because I had this jerky attitude. I was a jerk. I had a jerky attitude. Yeah. They're worthless. Comics are worthless. And I come in and I say, hey, stop putting these books in there. And then the next time I ordered, I checked my books before I checked out, before I paid for them. And there was a comic book in there that I didn't order. And hey, what's this? Why are you guys doing this? I told you not. And I yelled at them. I was very mad at them. And they're like, oh, we think that you're going to like this. We think it's going to be a good book for you. There's only it's an independent comic, I'm like, and it was, I yelled at them. I made them take it away, all this stuff. Yeah. They had put in Walking Dead #1.
Oh, no.
Oh, dude.
Literally. I'm telling him, I don't even like zombie stories. I'm not into this garbage. I was hating on it. And now it's like, that was what is it? A $1,500 mistake now. I mean, I think it was super. In all honesty, I think they were giving it to me for a discount as well, because I had if you have a subscription, you get a certain percentage discount on all your books.
Yeah.
So after that, I was just kind of like, maybe I should watch out for some of that stuff. But typically I'm not I'm not into the super powered characters anymore.
Yeah.
What they've done to Batman nowadays, I don't even want to read Batman
please
anymore.
don't go there, man.
I love Batman, but now it's just like, ugh.
Yeah. I one thing, like, to be honest, like, one thing when I was doing this one, right? So that's our first superhero comic, right? The one thing I did that was that I wanted to make sure it was grounded. You know, we talk about grounding and stuff. It's a superhero comic, but I wanted to be grounding. So I wanted to be able to connect with the normal people on the street, because like there's a little story we actually shared, like put the little panel out there. It's just a cop and a girl, a woman who's pushed out of the way, and just them talking, right? Just for like one page of just them in there, just them talking about the situation. Because I always find it like when you have big, overpowering stories, all you're trying to do is blow things up, make huge action sequences that don't tell you, that doesn't really ground it anywhere. And so if that was for me, so I as a writer, I'm always trying to figure out how do I connect with the audience on any, so I thought this would be a cool way to just say, hey, like, just take time out, right? And just look, this is what's the mayhem's been caused on the ground in a violent situation of, like, terrorists, whatever. But one of the other things I find is like, I think it was about 2018 when I stopped reading Batman comics, right? I just stopped.
Yeah.
I'd actually been a Marvel fan for decades, like since like about, I think, late 80s to 2002, 2004 maybe, right? So I'm about 2 decades there, right? Almost. And then I got introduced to the novel version of Death of Superman. I think it was by Greg Rucka, right? And I read that because I was just reading books at that time. I've lost my first collection in the fire. I was out of comics, but we moved away, and so I was studying for filmmaking, and so I found the big book and I started reading it. I was like, this is such a cool story. It's the entire arc, novelized, the death of Superman. And I read that. Then I read the book No Man's Land, the novelization of that, like how the city earthquake causes that. And then I thought, I might give DC a go. And so I started reading that, and that's how I got actually, I'd seen the VHS movies and all that, Batman, all that, but that's how I got introduced to the comic side of DC superheroes. And I was just in love with Batman. I liked the fact that he could, he had this ethos, he had this morality, he'd be out there, just for the little guy, and even though he had all this riches, right, he could just go and just live on an island by himself, away from all the mayhem, and do nothing. Yet they grounded him so much that he could just go and be part of society under a hood, under a cowl. Nobody knows who this rich guy is, and he's just one of them, right? But he's out there to help them. And I think when people forget that's who he is, that he is a guy who's lost everything, yet has everything. But the most important thing that he lost, he doesn't have, and he doesn't want that to happen to others, and that's why he's doing what he's doing. And when you try to mess with that ethos, I'm walking out. So I rather buy a toy for $40, right, which is one of those McFarlane ones, than buy a stupid comic for $10. That tells me that you hate Batman, right? That you actually do not like this character anymore. You shouldn't even be writing it if you don't love this character, because why are you writing something that you don't love?
Right.
Right. And I just found that, I found that offensive to be able to give him this mantle of being a writer for that, for that character, and hate on him so much that you hate on the fans for liking it, for you not liking you ruining it, and then telling them that they suck for not liking your rubbish, garbage, tier writing of a character that they have enjoyed for 80 years. Right? On and off, depending on how old they are.
and you see that, talking about like the creators that love the characters they're writing for, the characters that they're directing for, or whatever. You look at Zack Snyder, his Justice League, regardless of how bad a movie it is, and we can all say it wasn't the greatest movie. Batman v Superman was. It had its moments where you're like, this could, but you could tell that guy loved those characters. And he put a lot of heart into those characters, and that's what the fans of those movies actually like. Like, well, he actually really loves the characters. At least, he's not just writing out of his butt. He really enjoys the characters. Yes, he should have gotten some co-writers involved, and to clean it up a little bit. But coming back, he genuinely likes the characters, and I'd rather have that than somebody than a Joel Schumacher, who the only reference that he has was the Adam West, Batmans from the 60s. That was not the genre that he was coming into. So
I'm curious here. I'm curious. So I did this little excursion with one of the teams not that long ago, and I'm just curious. Out of all of the DC universe that has been adapted into past its comic book, what is your top 3 out of everything they've done out of the DC universe? I'm curious about this because we had this discussion
on movies or for the comic books.
No, not books, just the entertainment side, just the movies or TV shows.
Right there, he's holding up 2 of them right there.
Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Begins, Dark Knight. In all honesty,
out of all DC, everything out of DC.
Yep, I've got different versions of the same one.
For me, I would wrap those movies up into one arc. I would wrap them up into one story. So, the Nolan verse. Christopher Nolan's DC. Christopher Reeve's Superman 1 and Superman 2. Hands down, the best Superman that's ever hit the screen. And then
who's got you?
What's that?
You've got me. Who's got you?
Yeah. And then the Tim Burton Batman movies.
All right, Aru, what's yours? What's your top three picks?
For DC, right?
Out of DC, out of everything they've done, because we're getting this reboot right now in the DC universe, and I'm curious as to what your top 3 picks are.
Let me just sidetrack for a bit. See this thing here, right? This is something weird here. I don't know what plastic they use on this. It's sticky, man. Over time, it degraded. It's sticky.
Okay.
And I've seen that happen to a star. Is
it flexible? Does it have any bend to it?
No bend
at all.
Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna wipe my hands because it's like really bad.
No worries.
Yeah.
I like Steel. I like the movie Steel with Shaquille O'Neal. That was really good.
So tonight, what Hawke is drinking, everyone, is he ran out of cranberry, but this is actually what he calls a cran crisp. So you fill it half full of ice, and then what we do is we put a little bit of Sprite in it, half water, and a splash of cranberry, and if you want to make it alcoholic, a little bit of gin. Really refreshing.
We don't want to tell the kids that, though.
Good to drink. Cool.
So
what's this?
The other time I've seen this happen is this here. See that? So
is that bleeding?
Yeah, it's become. Yeah, it's just gross, man. So this is the second time I've seen this. This is like of the series of the TV show.
So it looks like it's the plastic they make. So a lot of the action figures are made out of PVC.
Yeah.
And
so this is kind of
maybe a degrading of the PVC, but I've never.
This is I think this is vinyl actually. This little piece because it was like how like at the bottom of your.
I wouldn't know. I don't know.
At the bottom of your leggings, right, on your jeans, it bends. So they had this sort of like really soft little material there, PVC vinyl, and that's what's gone.
So
like,
if you look on the back of that figure, that is probably polypropylene. Does it say a PP on the plastic set?
you probably know more about it than me.
I'm pretty certain that's PP, polypropylene. And what happens is that the heat affects polypropylene pretty heavily, depending on whether or not they put a hardening agent in it or not. So that's probably bleeding out because of that.
Yeah.
The other one actually, they put a polymer in it to give it more flex, and I'm surprised that thing's not flexing. So you see this out of
no, it was. It's really flexy. That's what I mean. So I was gonna show you this. So you can see this, right?
Yeah.
Hold on.
That's right. That's exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
So, so that same thing was there, but I think it might have been a different. I mean, where are we here? So it might have been something different, but so there was about that much, about a millimeter or two underneath that, right?
Yep.
That was part of it. That's what's come off.
Yeah. That's
so yeah, it's like a legging sleeve, whatever.
There's an armature over top of it. It's been cast over the armature is what's going on, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the figure.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointed because I like my mask.
Now with the mask, with it bleeding and it becoming sticky, that's a real thing, because that is the oils bleeding out of the plastic. So they had a lot of oils in the plastic whenever they cast, and there are some ways to actually cure that and get it better with some UV light. Actually, might turn it a little harder. So you might throw it under a little UV and see what it does. It might actually get a little less sticky under that UV.
Oh, wow. Light. I never
Just
knew
give
that.
it a shot. Give it a shot and see what happens with it. Because the UV reacts with the polymer that's in it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine.
So those are two discs that came out of that.
When I had that one, I think mine got sticky literally out of the package. I mean, it was just like that.
I haven't opened in probably a decade. So, yeah, I mean, since when, last, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago, I opened it. But that's, it's kind of sad to see that happen, but good to know. Thank you for the information. I'm sure everybody who's into toys will be
back to Hawke's original question. So what is your 3D?
I gotta say, look, man, it's like the Batman trilogy by Nolan. You can't go wrong. It's you can't go wrong. There's no, if you want to get anybody to like Batman and to see, what he's about, is that. I think for me, those three are it. Apart from that, I think Wonder Woman is a good movie, right? As outside of Batman, and of course the three, the Schumacher, was it Schumacher? No, it was somebody else. Roger, what's his name with the Superman series?
Oh, Richard Donner.
Richard Donner.
Yeah, I've got that series here somewhere as well.
He did the first one, was fired, and they released the second one with another director, but it was still footage that Richard Donner shot from the first one.
So it was really interesting, as we're all kind of in the same vein. So my top three are going to be going to be Batman 1989, or what wasn't that 89 Batman with
Keaton.
With Keaton,
with Michael Keaton.
That one was really good, and I even like Batman, the Batman Returns. I thought that series was really, really mocking up to be really a nice thing, and I hate the fact that they abandoned the trilogy right in the middle of the whole thing. But that was really wonderful. My number 2 is going to be Superman 2 from the Richard Donner series, when they were fighting against the Zod and all of that, and And my third one is Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot, and the reason why those three are probably my top is of course some of the Batman later on get a little too campy in the series out of the 80s and 90s, and right after that, after my Wonder Woman would be of course the Nolan's Batman, Batman series would probably go 1, 2, 3 right after that. So I think the reason why we're asking the reason why I asked this is just to see where we're gauged at. I think we're all kind of in that same vein. These were
Yeah.
successes. These were non-successes, and none of the TV series were on our list at all.
Yeah.
None of the TV series were on our list whatsoever. They didn't even score anywhere close. Like on that, not the CW
Yeah.
stuff, nothing of that. And I watched all of the Supergirl series, and it was rough to get through at the back end
Yeah.
of it. It really was. Just the writing was a little rough. They tried through so much at it, but so now my question is once we've done that, now we know what our tops are. How would you handle a reboot in DC? Let's ask that question. Aru, how would you handle a reboot if you were given the reins to bring DC into the entertainment? How would you go? What would you do?
I would bring in Frank Miller on Batman, right? I'd bring in Frank Miller on Batman. I would bring on J. Michael Straczynski on Superman. And then I would bring in, Chuck Dixon on Robin, right? And the reason, so what I'd sit down with those three people, and I go, and not only that, is it Ann Nocenti from X-Men, right? Was she the editor there, or was she the writer there?
Not sure.
Yep. So I would bring, and also I'd bring in
Austin Brooks throws up John Wesley Ships Jr.'s 1990s Flash, and he's right. That one might get on the radar, the 1990s Flash of John Wesley Ships. Nice call.
He's on the big suit, wasn't it? The really big suit.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would get actual comic book writers to come and a historian, right? To actually say, hey, let's forget the Hollywood writers and all that. Let's just sit down and create something unique that we can put together that is actually based on the comic books, which Nolan did quite a lot. And it felt like, not that he got anybody, but I'm thinking like he really delved into Frank Miller's stuff, and and you could see some of that come through. But if you get people who have been writing those characters and have been lauded for them, right? People have really enjoyed their writing for them, right? Then you would see that those guys will be like getting the chance to do a movie. Like you look at Sin City, right? You got Frank Miller doing Sin City. How great that was as a non comic book movie series. And by doing people who have actually had decades of experience writing with these characters, living with these characters in their head, it'll be so much easy for them to just come and put out something unique for the cinema, for the theater. But I think a lot of time these guys are saying, well, I'm the writer and I'm with SAG-AFTRA or whatever, and I'm the Hollywood guy, so I don't need anybody from the comic world to tell me how to write, a movie about that character. And I think every time you see that happen, is you see characters just become a shadow of themselves. Right? You look the Punisher in Netflix. That is how you do a TV series, right? With that character. Now, whatever happens when they go to MCU, I'm sure it's going to be a disaster from the history that we've already seen this past couple of years. But and of course, Daredevil's already had that touch, right?
Yeah.
So we know what they're going to do with it, which is mass produce something that's not, that's not for everybody, or that's for everybody, but for nobody in particular, right? So that's why Nolan sticks out so much in our heads, is because we can see this character is done with love and with passion, and he's given time to develop the world of Gotham, right? The world of the DC characters. And he didn't even bring in Superman into it, right? It was just about Gotham. And the beauty of it was that it was just about Gotham and the poverty and the riches, and everybody just trying to survive in that little universe that he created in Gotham. But then it was also funny, and then it was also serious. So all those characters he brought out, you can say those actors were brilliant, right? There was no actor that did those roles with 0.5% of passion. They gave them 1,000%. You know, you look at, is it Tom Hardy, right? Bane.
One of my friends that when the Dark Knight came out, and this is the best way I could describe it. I asked him, I said, he saw it before I did. I said, how'd you like it? He says, you know, Stuart, I went in expecting a superhero movie. I watched a film. And I'm like, there's a transition when you get to the Nolan, I call it the Nolan verse. When you get to the Nolan verse, there is a transition. Those aren't superhero movies. Those are films. That's a film. There are clinics on filmmaking that you can derive from all three of those movies. You know, so
okay, Big Stu, same question.
What I would do is I would take a page out of what Christopher Nolan did. I would study the characters as much as I possibly can. Okay, I'm not as well versed as you guys are with the writers and all that stuff, but I would study the characters as much as I can, and I would create a new story based on that character. I'm one of the few that I think reboots should still have some sort of an origin. It doesn't have to be the same exact one, the pearls and the gun and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I still think the origin story is important because somebody is watching being introduced to that superhero for the very first time, regardless.
Right.
So basically, I would study the characters as much as I can and create a new story arc based on that that wasn't really combined with anybody else. You know, had maybe hints of them, but not completely taking those story arcs. That way, the people that were complaining about it it didn't match the Dark Knight Returns. It didn't match year one. It didn't match this. It was a little bit of a different story than what I did. Or but
so you're thinking like the Robert Pattinson Batman, the Batman.
Yeah, kind of like that as well. Batman would be very gritty, very gritty. Robert Pattinson's Batman, in all honesty, Robert Pattinson might bump out Superman for me.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that one because it's so new. But that grit that he brought to that was fantastic. But Batman, awesome, fantastic. But the grit that they brought to the Batman in that movie was fantastic. That was perfect. Yeah. And then hint to other characters in that world within your first movie. You know, not as bad, not as vague as like Snyder did with little signs here and there, but like mentions of them. You know, like, well, what do you think this? You know, like, maybe even a name drop. You know, maybe even like, you know, something of that nature. What do you think this is? And then when we go to that movie, when we go to the next movie in my universe, we may do another introduction, right? Kind of the way they did with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You look, each one of those characters had an origin story, even though they were building into the Avengers movie. So, if that makes sense, that's what I would do. I would study the characters, figure out what that character makes that character tick, and why he does do the things that he does or she does, and then I would try to create a story that was both familiar and different, you know, so that my detractors don't have a lot to talk about other than the quality of the movie, you know.
Yeah. See, I mean, like we're talking about this one, right? So the Batman. I mean, because I got to see it, and I didn't see it on the big screen, which I kind of said afterwards that I didn't see it on the big screen because, I mean, I was like, Robert Pattinson, come on, man, how can he pull it off? And then you're right, it was a great movie, you know, as a standalone, you know, kind of like an Elseworld type, you know, multiverse type.
At points, it was a disturbing movie at some points too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do a rewatch today of it because it's sometimes you you watch something and it just washes over you and you don't really pay too much attention. But when you look back afterwards to it, you're going to go, oh yeah, like yes, that was pretty cool. I think
I haven't watched it at all. I haven't watched that movie.
It's worthwhile.
You need to come over one night, man, and we'll watch it. We'll watch it in my small apartment in the back of the shop.
Sounds, wait a second. Is there, better not tell me there's going to be
drink
alcohol
whatever I
there.
give
Hold
you.
on,
All
man.
right. Don't worry about the flakes of things that are on the top of the drink I give you. It's okay.
So
Yeah.
so that was that. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that before I jumped in with Robertson?
I just think on that I think that would be and I would my continuity. I would have a person that was just hired to make sure continuity was perfect. Because as a director or a writer, sometimes you miss it. You got to have that, and you got to have people that are. You can't have yes men. You have to have no men. You have to have a guy that says, "No, that ain't gonna work." Think about how good the first trilogy, the Star Wars trilogy, the episode 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars would have been if he would have surrounded himself with no men. I want to make Anakin 9 years old. No.
Yeah.
So
I think when you get to a certain level, people just don't want to disagree with you, and and I mean, I've had someone got in contact with me about Kickstarter this week or this past week, and they said this, and I said, listen, man, I don't know nothing about this right now. I only have an inkling of knowledge about this. So whatever you want to tell me, I'm all sponge. I'm a sponge here. Tell me, And I think if you just ask the right questions, and you'll get the right, get the answers that you weren't looking for sometimes, but you'll get the information that you could work off on. And I think a lot of time Hollywood has a tendency to just go, I'm a big name, so I should have the final say, and nobody can tell me different. We've seen this in the MCU right now, right? To a huge amount. They bring in these big name directors who've won Oscars, so they don't want to challenge them. They don't want to tell them anything different. So they got Oscars, and they go, oh, I'm an Oscar winner for this thing, so I'm going to let you have a superhero movie. Have you ever read any comic? No. Do you know any of these characters? No. But I have won an Oscar for being a director of a drama. Okay. Here's $20 million. Go and do the job. And it's like, what's the fruit of it? The rotten apples are all there. It's not over $1 billion in loss and profit within about 5 months. That's the fruit of doing that. And I think, it's just sadness when you see like something as great as characters like, She-Hulk, right, getting destroyed. Characters that are built up to be so amazing get destroyed. It's just
She-Hulk is a bit of a different question, but the She-Hulk that they would base that series on was actually the She-Hulk of the 2010s. Because it ran through that series, and it was pretty true to character. What they put on screen was really true to what was being produced by the comic books at the time, and that was in my opinion, that was the best She-Hulk series. As a matter of fact, I think I got the whole run behind me somewhere. But I think the problem is that in this particular incarnation, it comes out at the wrong time for what it is. And I feel that if you look at the She-Hulk series, we got sensational She-Hulk, and she was a completely different character arc that built up into this newer She-Hulk series, which in my opinion was better. It was very much full of jokes, but then it gets caught up in the wokeness of everything, and it kind of broke what we were getting. That's just my opinion. But
I didn't feel like I didn't want to be preached to, and then I didn't want to be told that I'm a bad fan because I don't like something either.
Right.
And that's essentially what they did on that series. on that.
Talking about that, right? Talking about the bad fan thing. Right this week, right? Blue Beetle's supposed to come out.
Right.
Right from DC. DC. It's probably the one of the last 2 movies that will be coming out this year from DC. So the director from DC of the movie, like Blue Beetle, was out there saying how he pissed off fans and his work was done pissing off fans. Now they reckon it's going to be $12 million opening weekend for this movie. That's cost over $200 million.
Uh-oh.
Do you think the studio wants to have people like that getting paid probably $10 million to the work on the movie, whatever their paycheck is, right? And the residuals, whatever. Go out there and try to piss off fans, because those fans are probably the ones that are going to go to the movies because nobody else knows them, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows who Blue Beetle is apart from people who actually bought the comic or watched the cartoons.
Even comic book readers don't know who Blue Beetle is.
Right.
Blue Beetle is such a weird.
It's a very small percentage knowing this little character, right?
Yeah.
This little character that puts on a scarab, and you want to go out there and start pissing off the little fan base that you have with your politics, and then turn around a month later when the studio realizes we were thinking about 100 or maybe $100 million opening week. Wait, now it's 60. Predictions are now 30. Oh no, it's going to be 12. You better sort yourself out now. Maybe you should have told them that on the day one. Listen, don't piss off the fans. Just go out and make a movie. Put a good trailer out. If you're going to mention Batman as a great hero.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing right now. I think Hollywood itself right now is too busy cannibalizing itself.
Yeah. It's imploding.
Hollywood is so good at destroying its own industry. It amazes me. It astounds me. There's no reason that I should be go to a movie in the theater, pay the theater prices, buy the popcorn, buy the drink, all that stuff, and then 2 weeks later be able to stream it. There's no reason I should be able to do that.
Yeah, and completely. You're absolutely right about that. It's coming too fast. Yeah.
I think producers and directors should grow a pair and say, listen, I'll make this movie, but here's the stipulation. The movie doesn't see streaming services. You're not able to buy it on streaming service for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it's not allowed to go to HBO or any of those streaming channels until a year.
Right.
Then you have enough time. Then it's worth going to the movie theater to go see these big movies. It's even the movies that are not these huge blockbusters. The other movies, I'm talking about independent movies. But the streaming kind of helps independent movies because they're able to stream. But on the same token, if you have an independent movie that you want to have seen on the big screen, having it go in like this, it doesn't help you. It does not help at all.
You're not allowing it to grow legs, right? You're not allowing the audience to go, okay, man, we better get in there and see it. I reckon 3 months is a good time period, because in the VHS days, right, it was 6 months, and DVD releases and stuff. So, and it got shorter and shorter and shorter when DVDs came in.
8 months or something like that.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that, because you were able to wait for so long, you were able to talk about it. You were able to build up
word of mouth.
You were able to, now it's like, wait for 2-3 weeks and it will be online, mate. It'll be streamable.
Going back to the VHS days, we were talking about 8 months to a year before it was on VHS. And then the VHS tape that it was on, you couldn't afford to buy it. It was $150, $200.
Yeah.
Rental places bought them.
Yeah.
To rent. And that's, and then by the time that you were able to buy it was maybe 2 years after it was released.
Yeah.
After it was released in the theaters.
But so
which brings us back around to me answering that question. So I'm running back around here.
Yeah.
So because of all of these reasons, DC, in my opinion, has destroyed their movie universe. They've broken it. Like there's not a way to fix it at this point, and they just need to stop throwing money at this anymore.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing, and they don't know how to fix it. And I'm sorry, my camera keeps going in and out. It's
all
trying
good.
to focus. It's probably because I'm shaking the table. But
You're passionate. You're passionate.
So and what I would do is I would say, okay, look, this just isn't working. We've destroyed the movie market. We've even broken the TV show market because of some of the stuff that we've done. And I think that what I would do is I would bring it all back in and say, okay, let's reapproach this. And what I would probably do is I would go to a platform like HBO or one of these other bigger platforms and tell lighter stories on background characters in a 8-piece arc for every single one of them, and then they would be done. And those threads would be able to bleed out. So let's have a Harlequin one out there, an Harlequin thread that's going to bleed out for 8 stories. That's going to bring us to some kind of realization that there's something bigger out there. Or you have some other sub character that's going to bleed out into an 8-piece story that's going to build up into this. And this allows for a lot smaller world building, because every time that I've seen DC, it's like, here's your origin arc, here it is, here's your character, get into it, done, and they defeated this. It's the same thing over and over. And there's, like you said, there's no real world building. No one got to world build, and he got to world build over 3 movies, and it made a difference in everything. And that's why I think personally for myself, I would go back and do maybe a 8-piece streaming service. At the end of that streaming service, you could combine those up into a sub arcs, 2 movie arcs, if you really wanted to, if they're good enough, and re-release them if you wanted to go that route. But it allows to be able to consume, and that means you can also build the mystery of things, like hey, this is the Gotham, this kind of like Gotham City series that's not necessarily based on Batman, but Batman is out there in the series, but you don't know what he's up to. And there's this intrigue and darkness and this build up between it. What if we just follow Robin for 8 series and him knowing about Batman and not knowing what's going on, but you hear about the Bat doing all these dangerous things to people and all of this other stuff, right? So it builds these threads up that will then allow you to do something more with your world after that. And I think that that's kind of the problem that they've done. So I don't think they should go back to the movies. I think they broke themselves, and there's no way for them to fix it at this point. They just need a complete reboot. I agree, but they
will reboot again. See, every time they have a success, they sidetrack. They get distracted by something else. So they should have stuck with Nolan's thing, right? Just kept building on all those different characters that comes out of that universe, and just kept going. See, I remember the best, most recent comic book that came out that I enjoyed was I'll just call this out first. From the Shadows, much like how Spawn started with HBO. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I could see that working for DC. Yeah.
So the best time I thought that there was a good crossover arc, whatever event that happened in DC in the last 2 decades was Flashpoint. Right? Flashpoint came up, and they created this change of the universe. Like, it just changed everything. What this new movie is supposed, kind of is based on, where Flash wants to get his mum alive again and change the whole thing. Where Thomas Wayne is Batman, Martha Wayne is the Joker, right? Where is she? He's the crazy little female Joker, right? So if that just kept going, if they'd let that universe go for a couple of years, and that would have been such great storytelling just because of that. There was a change. There was a right time because it was kind of like dark, and they'd come out of Brightest Day and Darkest Night, and they came with the Flashpoint. I think, or was it the other way around? Flashpoint would have been a great ongoing crossover, sort of like their own themes, for at least 5 years of stories. They could have just kept going, and that would allow them to have this is for the comics, allowed them to build a really cool thing around that. Now with Nolan, he built a universe, right? As we're saying, he built a universe.
Mm-hmm.
They had all this opportunity to get guys in and go, hey, how about you just go and now add in a Christopher Nolan Superman, right? And let's go with that. And then we'll go Wonder Woman, go, let's put it back into the universe, and then keep building it up to where you get to Flashpoint. And then you can go out and then say, well, what happens in this world of Flashpoint, right? With the Flash. And what happens over there and over there. And this is what you're trying to say. It's like in that universe. But they don't do that. It's like every time a director comes in, I want to do my trilogy. I want to do my version. I don't want to serve the universe that we're in. I don't want to serve my studio. I don't want to serve these characters. I want to tell my story. And this is where I think they fail, because they're like, it's about me, right? It's my version. And okay, sometimes it can work if you do one-off, but it doesn't try and do anything else to allow people to go back to the other one and go, hey, we should go and watch that again.
Think about it this way. Because I kind of felt that way when I felt like that's what they were trying to do when Man of Steel came out. Yeah. I felt that was kind of close to Christopher Nolan's universe. Mm-hmm. Didn't mention Batman, but you just all Wayne Enterprise stuff, Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? That would be. Can you imagine how different it would have been if Christian Bale showed up in Batman v Superman? Coming out of hiding because of this thing that's happened in the World Engine, all that stuff that happened in the Man of Steel. I think it would have been more impactful. But the other problem that you have with the Nolanverse stuff is going back into his Nolan universe. Is Christopher Nolan had no desire to go back into do another superhero movie. He did his trilogy. He was done. He's out. The only way you're going to get anything Christopher Nolan-esque is if you hire Christopher Nolan to do those movies, to do a Superman movie. I would have loved it. I'd love to see Christopher Nolan do a Superman movie. It'd be fantastic. But he has no desire to do it. He's literally, on another note, he is the only director that I look to go see that movie. If it's, I don't care about who's in the movie. If it's a Christopher Nolan movie, I'm going to go see that movie. That's the only director I do that for.
I do not want to see another Superman. I'm a Superman fan, and I do not want to see another Superman movie. I'm done. Like, put a fork in me. I'm toast.
Yeah.
Like, they can't get it right. How many films have we had to where the only villain is Lex Luthor? Like, I can't wrap my head around where the hell they're coming from. Excuse my French, but it's like, it's like, come on. Like, we have a thousand other things we could do here. And this is your only note that you want to strike. That's it. You don't want to go anywhere else.
You go back to the Donner-verse. You go back to the Donner, Richard Donner. Lex Luthor was silly and he was a little bit, but he actually was a threat to Superman in that movie. And there were stakes in that. Basically, Superman, you got a choice, Superman. This missile's going that way. This missile's going this way. You can't catch them both. You can't do them both. You got to pick out which one you're gonna let detonate.
Yeah, but my problem is that after we've had 6 Superman movies and Lex Luthor has been in all of them, do we really need a Lex Luthor Superman villain anymore? Like, can you not give me anyone else? Anybody? So now, then you gave me Zod, and it's like, okay, great. Zod was round 1, and then you did Doomsday, and it's like, come on, you slaughtered, you destroyed Doomsday. That was terrible.
That was horrible.
Horrible. Like, if they had adapted the Doomsday story right from the comic book, everybody would have been thrilled. It would have been an amazing event.
But we get Mr. Mixelplex.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take Mixelplex over
Lex.
Lex now at this point. I'll
Yeah.
take anybody over Lex at this point.
I'm with you on
Yeah.
that, Hawk. I really am.
It's like it's sometimes they overdo things, right? And that's what you're saying here. Now, one thing that I've got to give a plus to DC is the animated movies, right? The animated movies is what really, for me, I look forward to when it comes to DC, because they actually, tell a story that are based on the comics, rather than make up a story, that they've come up with them by themselves. So one of the things for comics that I liked was Injustice, based on the game, the comic books based on the game. So imagine them doing a TV series, right? And they just went with the whole Injustice universe and worked with that. They got so much stories there that they could just keep doing that. Why not just do that as a movie? Ongoing series, TV, just do everything around it, because you already got a game, you already got comic books. Do TV and movies, right? It's all there. It's like everything is there. All the characters are there. And I think I'm worried that, and I'm already bored with the whole Jason Gunn thing coming in, right? James Gunn or Jason Gunn?
James Gunn, yeah.
Right. And it's like he's going to do his own version. He's going to create his own universe, and it's going to be again back to the square one, rather than actually picking up from where somebody else has done. All these guys, they just he did great with Guardians of the Galaxy. It was amazing. The last movie was friggin' brilliant. I know a lot of people don't like the emotion side of it. You know what? It really was the best thing story he told, part of that universe, because it grounded you into the one character that was so silly, yet if you watch each little movie, each of the three movies, you see him building up a rocket. You could see that rocket was his theme all the way through. Of course, you had Star-Lord there, but he was the human element of it. But you got to see the alien side and its true nature of evil in the world, where you could treat even the most innocent of things, as we say, humans, a child. You got to experience what it was like to have someone take and treat another thing, that wasn't human in an evil way. And the thing about what I liked about it, he gave you real evil, right? He actually gave you real evil in this movie. There was no, it kind of might be an evil guy, or he's got, what is that called? Something, I had a name for it, like
so spoilers here. If you're watching, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If you haven't watched it yet, spoilers.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. It's long enough time, man. It's on streaming, so grab it.
Yeah.
But the idea is there's this whole I had a word for it, which I call it something like where you kind of, it's not really a villain anymore. Like the evil person isn't evil anymore.
A misunderstood villain.
That's the word. Yeah, it's misunderstood. No, right. I like my villains to be evil. I like them to be totally opposite. Yeah, I like them to be totally opposite my hero. And okay, you can have some middle people there, with their issues, which they do really well in with Joker's, sidekicks and all that, where there's like, oh, I gotta go feed my family kind of thing. But the real evil person is always Joker, right? So when they start taking that away from stories where they muddle what evil and what good is, I'm out, man. And that's what I love about this one. I thought it was really well done. They really made us love Rocket, and we've loved Rocket anyway. We've had fun with Rocket for the last three movies and all the little bits and pieces and Avengers and all that. But we really got to see him as a human being, not just an animal. And we saw the alien who we, time to time in the story, in the comic books, we didn't really think much of, but here we really got to see the villain for what he was. Right. He's a nihilistic person who just is all about himself, and that's what villains are. They think they're the heroes of their own stories, but comics and also movies, especially MCU, has been muddling the whole idea of what a villain is supposed to be and what true evil is.
Hey, I disagree with you on that. I didn't care really for the last Guardians film.
Okay.
You know, and my reason is totally different.
Okay.
You know, the character arc with Rocket was fine. My problem wasn't that. My problem was its placement in the trilogy or the placements in the set. And what I really wanted to see is we needed to go on a roller coaster ride. We needed to take off and go up and come back down again and come back. You know, it needed to be a roller coaster ride in this trilogy of movies. And we didn't get that. We didn't get the roller coaster ride. The first one was wonderful. It's probably one of the best films. You can see his influence. You can see that he reads the comics. You can also see that he is influenced by Farscape and all three of the films. He's very a big Farscape fan, which I am too. Love Farscape. Head up, Ed Brown.
Definitely.
So,
Never seen an episode.
oh no, my goodness, Stu, you got to come over. I'll bring
Christine Black?
and we'll do a Farscape marathon at my place.
All right.
Farscape is awesome.
Sounds
Farscape,
good.
Farscape is awesome. So, so you know, it's what my problem was how it ended. It didn't end where I wanted it to end. It ended on a sour note, and it's like, okay, look, this isn't a film for the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy series. This was a film for the middle. It needed one more to get you on that high note, and now we're not getting that. So it should have been. This shouldn't have been the Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back should have been in the middle of the trilogy. That's already been solved. You didn't have to rethink this. You know, it was already done for you. You just needed to follow the pattern that we needed to end on a sour note and then bring us back up. You know, so that way it was a nice wrap up. And that's not what we got. And a few times I thought we were gonna. I thought we were gonna get there, but then they just turned and switched and gone the other way. The story arc with Rocket was fine, very graphic, but it just didn't land where I wanted it to land. And I know they're proposing a Star-Lord film or something like that.
Yeah,
but that's not Guardians of the Galaxy, is it?
Well, you're right. It does need another story, but I think for me, on its own, it was fine because it gave me what I wanted. But yeah, I guess. But he's never going to do it, is he? Because he's moved over and got his millions, whatever, to do DC and re-gig that.
You know, the only reason that he's over at DC is because Disney fired him for the joke that he told. You know, the jokes that he told 10, 15 years ago. He told some racy type of jokes, not racist jokes, but racy type jokes.
Yeah,
and are things like that, and they fired him. And then the Guardian of the Galaxy cast came together and said, "We're not going to do the next movie without James Gunn," and that's how he came back. But that's how he got the jobs at DC, because they hired him to do Suicide Squad.
Well, great loss to them now, isn't it? Like Disney, like they had the one director who actually could do something great. Is gone now, right? One, like so someone who actually knew what he was doing.
They got hired on for DC. He's probably and then offered to redevelop the entire franchise. Like, what would you do? What would you do? Go back?
Oh yeah, I'd run
movie or head up the entire new franchise.
Yeah.
And for James Gunn, I do kind of admire what he's doing over there at DC. And I know it's a cluster, but he's going in and he's just like, Aquaman is, the guy that plays Aquaman, he's really good at Aquaman or whatever, but you're still fired.
He would be great as Lobo.
We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Jason Momoa would be great as Lobo. Seriously, there's no reason for him not to be Lobo.
And
he's got the build. He's got the friggin' island attitude, as we like to say. The humor that comes from the Pacific, that we're self-deprecating.
Not defecating, deprecating.
Yeah, self-deprecating. We like to make fun of ourselves, more than we like to make fun of other people. But it's because we know we all are the same. Right. We tongue-in-cheek people, and so I think, I think he'll be great as Lobo. That's a movie I would like to see. I would definitely love to see him as Lobo, riding on his freaking chopper, out there in space. But the problem there is, how do you like wipe the slate clean? when you've got so much history of failures and a couple of wonderful things, but so much failure.
Well, back to when we first started the conversation about this, is we have niche. There's a niche fan base, right?
Yeah.
So your niche fan base is going to understand, right? Yeah. You put it out there in the press, like, hey, listen, all of this is the Snyderverse, and it is gone. It's gone. Gal Gadot, love you. You're fired. Jason Momoa, love you. You're fired. But we got some roles for you if you want to take them. We have a role of Lobo that we think that Jason Momoa would great. You need to grow a mustache and a big beard and, bulk up a little bit more than what you already are. We're going to do that. And with the makeup, he's going to look different enough. And you got to remember, who is it that plays Captain America? Chris Pine.
No. Chris Pine. Star Trek.
That's Star Trek. Oh,
Chris Hemsworth.
No, that's Thor.
Oh, who cares? Anyway,
he played Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
You got to remember, he was in Fantastic Four as Johnny Storm, and
all right,
we moved him over to Captain America 3 years after the second the Rise of the Silver Surfer. So yeah, I think if you just do it, you explain it in press. This is what's happening, and you just show it, and then and don't entertain any of the arguments. We're not. Yeah, it's a different universe. Why are we talking about it? It's been explained out the butt. We all understand this. Get over it. And then let's move on. The other idea is to I call the Highlander solution. Highlander 2 was garbage, right? But they didn't ignore it. They just moved on.
The Renegade version.
What's that? They did a Renegade version, right? They did something to try to fix it, but they didn't ignore it. They're just like, well, yeah, that's what happened. Let's just move on.
I so want to write a Highlander series. I've got his email. I probably should get back with him. I really want to write a Highlander series.
Do, man. I would love to help you with that, man. That would be a great series to do.
But what I would want to do is write around that second film. Zeist and all of that nonsense.
You'd want to write around it, not introduce it.
Yeah, well, introduce it, but also write around it. You know what I mean? So that I would want to go back to that because I think there's so much more interesting storytelling for the whole thing there.
I think if it wasn't the actual person, but it was their essence that was moved into a baby that was being born.
Yes, well, I agree. I agree.
That's the anime isekai, idea plot point, which is like you die and you get your soul goes into another world, into a child, and you grow up living in that world.
You get to live it again.
Yeah, and you get to live it again with the knowledge you already have.
That's the only way you'd want to do it. But yes.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty boring 9 months in the womb thinking of, thermonuclear infusion while you're down there,
They've been like, that's sort of like, for me, anime, I like that idea. I love the whole concept of isekai because, I wrote about, the whole being able to be another body, that concept even before I knew what the word isekai meant. So I'm quite looking forward to working on that sort of storylines. We've got something called the 150 coming up when I get around to writing it, which is about, dreams and stuff and like what you get to happen. So now we've been talking about Hollywood movies and stuff for the last hour and a half and toys. I want to, because it's supposed to be like, we're going to have Stu back on Thursday for America and the Northern Hemisphere and Friday for New Zealand. Around about I think about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock over there. We'll let you know. We'll put this podcast out. And saying that, I just want to thank you guys for watching with us. And we're not finishing here, but just want to say, please, if you're hop over to YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, like and subscribe our channel. We really appreciate it. We're going to be having so many more people coming on, talent from all over the world. Tomorrow morning, I've got Lucifer Storm, a writer of comic books from the UK. He's put out a few horror comic books, and he's kind of the more mature content. So he's on our Plunge X live stream, which is for older audiences. Whereas this one here, of course, is for PlungeCast. Especially this one's just for talking about the whole pop culture and of course our Incredi-Girl Kickstarter that's going on right now. But like I said, next week we've got actually going to have Gary Harm as well next Friday, Thursday US, joining us along with Stu, talking about talking about toys, things that lying in front of me here all over the place, right?
Yeah,
and I haven't had time to put it out.
We've got to get Raj and Greg on here, but I think Ben Bristol will be joining Big Stu and talking about Transformers next week. Ben Bristol.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So like, I mean, I'm a kid who grew up with Transformers, like from the 80s, right? Actually, I think we had quite a few in our home, but over time, when you have visitors and kids, they tend to disappear. And so we don't have the original, the original one that came with the seat, the VHS. That figure is gone somewhere, stuff like that. But I've been collecting Transformers lately, and like the most recent tiny little thing is this one here. I picked up this week for about 50 cents or something as part of a set.
Wow.
Tiny little thing.
I only own one Transformer. I'm not a huge Transformers fan. I only own one Transformer. Galvatron. It's the movie edition Galvatron that I picked up last year. But the one Transformers that I've been thinking about picking up for my collection are the ones that don't transform. They're just the robot form, the action figures. Okay. I was thinking about picking those up because those are pretty cool looking, and they're all scaled the same. That was the biggest problem I had with Transformers when I was a kid, is because they weren't scaled with anything. No, these ones are 6-inch figures, the ones I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
But they're pretty much the robot form, fully articulated. I think Big Bad Toys probably has them, and Hasbro Pulse definitely has them, somewhere. But I can't remember the name of them. I can't remember their names. But I was fascinated by that. I was like, yeah, I'd like to get those.
All right, so
all my Transformers are gone. But go ahead, Aru.
Yeah, well, we're going to have that talk on our toys collecting and unboxing, because the reason for that is I have been buying too many toys and leaving them in boxes and not being able to actually see what they're like. And they're like, and I mean by too many, I've got cupboard fulls of them. And it's gotten to a point where I haven't even got to see them yet. And because I just buy them and go on the shelf, like they just sit there and that's it. But now I'm kind of thinking, we should show them and have guests come on like yourself, Stu, and, talk about toys.
Oh, Ruth, you've got to do this for people that come on the show, that they have to bring on one item on your show to open. This gives every guy out there a reason to go buy a toy. Hey, I got to be on a podcast. I got to go buy something new.
That's a good idea.
And you can find that stuff at 1.21 gigawatts here in Borger, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Now, just before we move on to the Kickstarter, Austin, what do you mean by RED series? Is that red?
It's the Transformer series.
Okay. All right. So there we go. Now let's get on with. I'm going to let Hawke talk about the Kickstarter that we've got for our little lovely lady here, Incredi-Girl, and he will talk about what's going on with that for the next couple of minutes, because we want to give shout outs and keep you updated about the Kickstarter. So I'm going to put on the link. It is here, and like I said, jump on to the webs. If you jump onto Kickstarter, you can just put an Incredi-Girl one word, no dash. It'll pop it up. Also, you can look under Rising Sun Comics or Plunge Studios, because it is a New Zealand comic book coming out here from Plunge Studios, my own studio down here in New Zealand. And it's probably the first superhero from my own city, from Marie, and she actually lives here. And so I want to tell stories from my beautiful city and my beautiful country, which I really love, which a lot of people don't get to see, in in a comic form. You get to see it on the big screen in Lord of the Rings, and also movies like independent movies, horror movies like Tank. If you didn't know that, that was made here in New Zealand. So we're getting a lot of independent movies and especially horror movies being created in New Zealand by people out of Australia. I'm sorry, out of America. One of the most famous recently has been X. Now, don't want to mention too much about that, but if you've seen it, you know what that movie is about, and that's it was made here in New Zealand. So yeah, Austin said Transformers REG series, they don't transform. Yeah. All right, take it away. I'm going to put you on solo.
Okay.
Take it away, Hawke.
Let's talk about Incredi-Girl. So first off, we're at 53%. We're at 53%. Thank you very much. We've 53%. We're over halfway there in our Kickstarter campaign. It's because of all your wonderful people out there that have supported, shared, and liked us on that. We're just continue to do that, and we're going to get there. We've got 16 days left. And we're at 53%, $484 on that $900 goal. We're currently trending upward, which I think is pretty good. And I don't think any tiers have been shoveled away yet, so you can still jump in where at all of the tiers. None of the big tiers are gone, right? Aru, let's go down and check that last tier. Let's see. There's still, for one person, there's still this one left. This one's going to be pretty epic right here at the very, very last. And we're going to talk about that one. So our limited tiers, there it is right there. This one, $150 tier. There's still one of those left. That basically gets you a half-page ad or an interview inside the book. So wherever it goes or wherever it's going to go, you get to put whatever you want in there. We can do a picture of you. You can advertise your book. You can advertise, your shop, your show, whatever it is that you want to do in there, as well as you're going to get all of the covers, and you're going to get the exclusive poster with it. It gets everything. It's the all-in tier for $150, and you also get drawn in the book with a speaking role in it. So there's only one more of those left. Some lucky person is going to get that, and then that's going to be in the book forever and a day, and no matter where it goes in the world, people are going to know your name. So obviously you can see we've got some new color work coming out of our colorist Hugo. He's doing a great job trying to bring you these beautiful colors. You can see this updated. I think Hugo has grown quite a bit as a colorist, even since I was working with him. Look how wonderful these are. There's a beautiful shadow layers and deep textures now going into it. So I think that I think these pages, you can get a glimpse of what they're going to look like. So and we're going to look for more of those and more of those updates, letting people know how that's working, and we can go from there. And what we've got is I think we've got a few more of the $100 tiers and a few more of the $7,500 tiers or $75 tiers as well. So you can jump in there on any one of those. And we're gonna keep pushing through these last 16 days, and we're gonna get this thing funded and get it off to all you wonderful backers. Thank you so much for supporting. I want to start doing, I started this last time. I'm going to do it again. We're going to give all the call outs, the shout outs for all those people that have backed us that we didn't talk about last time. So we want to shout out to Peter Wilson. Thank you so much for your support. Shane Sindall, thank you. Without your help, we couldn't get this far. So thank you very much for jumping in. Jason Laney, thank you for your pledge. Appreciate it. Anthony Christiu, thank you for for that. I think you're going to love that spot foil cover. We've been working on that quite a bit. And Life is a Balance 22. Thank you for your support and your pledge on the campaign. We're going to continue to shout out all those people that are supporting, and you know, because we're really grateful for everything that you guys are doing. We want to be able to give our artists chunks of money so that they can go out and buy toys and then come back on here and be on the toy side of Aru's podcast. So, so please go support us on that. Aru, Nick, you know, the next time we do our live update, can we throw that update in the update section and let people know? You know, that way all of those backers can come as well. I don't know if we did that or not, but that would be really cool to have them on here so they could see those shout outs. And
I actually shared the link for the last when you did like last week's shout out in there in our update so they could see that. But yeah, thank you. I'll do that.
Awesome. I'd like to give a talk about you know, the campaign. There's still time, so jump in, and as you can see, we're constantly plugging away on this. Hopefully going to get this buttoned up and get it funded so that we can show you everything we've got. So this New Zealand superhero Incredi-Girl, written by Aru himself here. So, very awesome. And there's our toys we're working on. Nice picture, by the way. We are working on some toys for Big Stu to carry in a show.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Where are you at in the campain now?
I think we're about 53%. So it's around about just over, is it like $500 or something?
Yeah, about almost $500. We've got 16 days left in this campaign. So
I wanted to try to get it to like 100% in day 20, because I want to see how like the algorithm works if you get like 2/3 of it funded 2/3 of the time. And because when you try to learn how this all works, it's kind of, you know, you're trying to see what helps it. You know, like every time we come on here, we get a person back it, but a lot of that is coming from actual Kickstarters, you know, Kickstarter backers from Kickstarter website itself. So people who actually back other Kickstarters have actually come on to back us. So we found that people actually who have had good experiences with Kickstarters are willing to continue to do it again. So we're going to try our best to, you know, try to give everybody as much of, you know, as much information about our project as possible, because I think keeping them informed and keeping them aware of what we're doing on our part, right, is going to is try to keep them, you know, on top of what's going on, in case it gets delayed or something like that, or there's issues that come up. So just like this week, you know, we had a new page came in. I was like, yep, let's put that out there straight away, because people want to see this is a full, you know, at first I thought it wasn't a full color book. We had to push out that it is a full color book, and it is for all ages, which means you can give it to a kid and it'll be fine. You know, there's activities in the back as well, you know, for kids to do coloring, the TV design coloring for Red Dot and this one. So even though this is the first book, which is a superhero book, we do have a variety of different genres coming out. Like we've got we're 2/3 of the way through a one-shot sci-fi story called Robot Nations, you know, which is set in space, and it's kind of like a horror sci-fi story with 2 short stories making about 28 pages of content. And then we've also got a slice of life supernatural story about 2 females called the Tortoise, based on an island with tribes and stuff. And also we've got
that's based on folklore, right? That one?
It's kind of like a folklore, and it's kind of, you know, it's a really tribal, you know, indigenous sort of focused story, rather than just, you know, I guess it's one of those stories, you know, you got to kind of the closest I can think of it would be, I think it's a Green Holocaust or some weird movie like that, but it is a supernatural horror movie. So it's, you know, it's trying to create fantasy elements to it as well. But the other one we've got that's coming out soon is Templeton Rise and Fall, which has been worked on by one of the cover artists on here called James Hill, and he's doing a series. I think he's halfway through that as well, and that is a supernatural heaven hell story. Right, it's about soul collectors, so it's a mature reader's book, so which means there is a lot of mature content in there. And so so we're building Plunge Universe in a way that you could be any age, you could read it. So there's a book for you there in that genre, and so you don't have to just buy a book from us and it's only about superheroes. But there's magic elements. We've got characters that we worked into this one called the Templeton Twins that you get aware of where they first appear will be this book. So if you ever when we put out Templeton Twins, you'll find that this is the first origin of the Temple Twins when they show up. So this is kind of like a first for all these quite a few characters that we've got coming out that are part of this series, which will appear in a whole bunch of other comics that we've got coming out. So this one's 6 issues. Carry on.
So my question from a comic book store owner, on your talking about your rating system, is it very clear on your covers of what age specific it is, for my customers and for myself?
Yeah, it'll be a teen plus, or it'll be a MR for mature readers.
Okay. And how?
As a comic shop owner, I'm very conscious about the ratings for that because I want to make sure I'm not putting something out there that's mistaken for being a kid's book. And and I've known it from my own experience as a shopkeeper that you don't, you got to make sure that you're honoring the parents, of kids who are coming home with. Because you can't just try to think of like a fast buck, because you got to think of responsibility to the reader, and also you don't want your parents pissed off at you, because they'll not only will they make a big, come back at you, but they will make sure you are, maligned, because not maligned in the sense, but that you did them wrong, And I've been in that situation when I've gone and talked to someone and said, you shouldn't have sold that to my cousin because he's underage, and you shouldn't have, you should have actually asked me, if you could. And sort of things, because, I'm always mindful of that. That's why we make sure that we don't go deeply into the story when we're doing these podcasts. We just tell you the titles and that's it. And we go into the Plunge X, we'll talk to you about those contents, right? Same thing when we interview creators from other comics that do mature reader stuff. We go into a different podcast and we don't put that for kids,
Yeah, I was putting some books on my shelf the other day, and one of them was a Deadpool book, and I'm like, I need to go through this book before I put it on the shelf, make sure things are bleeped out or whatever. If there's so, and then if a kid brings it up, I'll be like, nah, you need to get your parent to buy that one. So
I actually have a situation with Deadpool because of that, right? I had a young kid come up, and he was with his parents. With his mum actually, and she looked at, I said, oh wait, this is the MR book, and he was getting the other ones as well, and I said, look, I can't really sell you this without, because I'm a bit, this is a MR, this is like the Marvel Knights version of, or the Max version, sorry, and she said, listen, my son's a big fan of Deadpool. We know what's in it, and we're very aware of what he reads, and we're okay with him reading it, because we would go, we know our kid, and so it's okay. And I said, okay, as long as you're happy, I will do the bizzo, because you don't want upset parents, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're in their own groups, right? They have friends, and their kids might be reading comics as well, and the last thing you want them is to go home and tell their friends that don't go to that store. They just want to. Yeah.
And our town is very small, so I'm pretty sure the word would travel very fast.
Yes.
If something like that happened in my store.
Yeah. So in our books, we pretty much have T for teen, which is that might have some language in it. So if it has the T for teen on it, then that means it has a little bit of language. There's not going to be anything rougher than that, but it'll be T for teen. And then I think we have parental guidance, right? Or parental awareness advisory, which is maybe even stronger language and darker things. And then we have MA, mature audience, and that's going to have things that are more for an adult, that shouldn't probably be in the hands of kids. So we definitely try and clearly mark on our covers, what this is, and so that you don't get in too deep of anything,
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, like, I mean, you in New Zealand, M15's our, like, high school age. So if you're over 15, then you could have some swear words, and that's about it. But then you kind of, like, when this is, like, to do with we were talking about VHS and stuff like that. So that would be, as you can see there on the M, right? So that's for mature things. Recommended for mature audiences, for mature audiences 16 years and over. So this is a new one. So it's 16. Before it used to be 15. Now they moved it to 16. Now, whereas you've got Star Wars at, like, parental guidance. So I think for me, for our Plunge Studios, we basically go MR, which is mature reader 16 plus, because at least at that age, they're already swearing, and they're already seen things on TV, and so that's fine. But and I think the reason this is at all ages is because it's something I made for my little niece. So I'm going to be okay with if I'm going to be okay with my little niece reading it, then then it's going to be okay for other people's kids reading it. And because I'm not out here to try to put in something dodgy, because I want kids to enjoy the book. It's the only one I think we've got that is for all ages at the moment, which is why we put so much effort in trying to get it out first, so that we can get the other ones ready next round.
Very good.
Is there anything else you wanted to add there, Hawke, with this one?
No, I don't think there is. I think we've got everything covered. I did want to give a shout out to Austin there. But please back us on the Kickstarter so that we can get this kid-friendly book out to everyone. And the New Zealand superhero, is she the first New Zealand superhero, or
I don't know. I think it might be. She might be, because to this thing, it's like I haven't seen anybody. I know a lot of people are doing comics, but to be as public with it, because I started this way back in 2007. So I haven't seen anything this public with a superhero. Otherwise, I would be aware of it. I know there's a whole bunch of other comics that are out here, but not particularly female superheroes. So maybe there is. So I can't say it's the first one. So all I can say is it's a female superhero from New Zealand, right? But it'll be great if she was. Ella is the first superhero from out of New Zealand.
There's an X-Men that's from New Zealand.
Yeah, I was just thinking that they mentioned recently that they put in there.
Kiwi Black is the person's name.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They couldn't come up with a better name, right?
Yeah. Kiwi Black.
That is such laziness, to be honest.
Just as lazy as Captain America, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, Kiwi Black, seriously, like, yeah.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of New Zealand creators. I just wanted to do a shout out to Make Comics New Zealand, Make Comics NZ Facebook page, which my friend runs, the artist on here, co-managers, right? Art of Evans. He's on Facebook as Art of Evans. He's on Instagram as Art of Evans, one word. Shane Evans, he's a very close and good friend of mine, probably one of my best mates. And he does that group where he's 2 years ago he started kind of like trying to get all the Kiwi creators together, from young ones, first time creating a comic book, to professionals. So I've more people are joining every couple of days. 3-4 more people are joining the group, and it's growing really fast all of a sudden, because I think in a sense because we've been publicizing Incredi-Girl as much as well, right? So because people are seeing him associated with what he's doing. They're getting together small groups, right? That's the other thing I was thinking. Like, if you're, something different. If you've got a table at your store where people game all the time, or whatever, you could do one day a week where people were into doing, comics. They can come and make a comic page, whatever thing, and you could get people like, Hawke or Greg and so on to come in there and sit down for a couple of hours at the time out of the weekend, and just sit down and have young kids, be taught how to do comics, because somebody's got to take over this, this industry that we love so much, this art form that we love so much once we're gone. And I think that's the best way to do it. It's actually, what Shane's been doing, which is like putting groups together and then having like meetups at the library. And if you got a comic store, that's probably the best place to do it. I mean, when we started in 2015, me and Shane and I, we actually, I created a red dot out of the comic stores as a teaching element. So I wrote a 5-page script, and he was illustrating that, and we're going to put that out somewhere soon. And about our character Red Dot, which is basically a New Zealand SAS vigilante, former captain of the of the special squad unit. And so, kind of like Punisher, a takeoff on Punisher, but our own version of, and with our own elements of that. So that's kind of like going to be kind of like a Teen Plus when we get that out there. Script's already been written. And the weird thing about that, right? Right now, the biggest thing at the movies right now is Sound of Music, Sound of Freedom, right?
Right.
And something very important, exploitation of children and trafficking of children around the world, right? And I wrote a script for Red Dot with that as a theme, where his first issues, that's what he goes into. I wrote quite a few, and I ended up with that being the thing. And this is was written about a year and a half ago. And I thought, man, if I had at that time, just in the marketing sense, like if we had actually put that first issue out, I mean, gotten ready, we could be putting it out here now and just showing that, this is an important subject, but actually being able to provide something for for comic fans, right? When you got something, because I don't like to go too much into my background, but this is very important to me, right? So I just because this is an all age, this is an all ages thing. So I think we need to keep children innocent, and we need to keep aware of these things and to protect our kids. And that's the most important thing. I don't care who you are in the world. That is the most important thing. I don't care what ideologies you believe, what religion you belong to, what political system you are in, what country you're in, what ethnic minority or group or whatever color your skin or language you speak. Nothing matters more than the innocence and protection of children. And so for me, I think it would have been a great thing, if we had it done. But, we had trouble trying to get that story right. And hopefully, in time we will. But I'm just so grateful that people are becoming more aware of it. And I just want to make sure that people put importance on kids and the innocence of kids. So, take it away. Whoever wants to talk next.
I want to give a shout out to Austin Brooks. Austin, thank you so much for sticking with us through this. Some great comments there. Austin is an artist extraordinaire. He's probably been mowing the lawn today, but so remember, drink your Cran Crisp. Austin is a wonderful artist. He's worked with us on several books. He has his own coloring book through Rising Sun, that is a wonderful seller. It sells really well. So if you want to see some of his wonderful art, you can go find Austin on Facebook. He can show you all that. You can also see his art in Armadillo Justice, which is our book. He's drawn that. He's also got several series coming out from us in the future. So he draws everything, including Batman, the Nolan verse, and the Tim Burton version. So go ask him to draw something for you, pay him well, and and he will draw you many beautiful things. Thank you, Austin. Also, shout out to Raj. I know you didn't make it in today, but it was good seeing you, and hopefully we'll have you and Greg on soon. And a shout out to Big Stu for making it tonight.
That's right.
Awesome.
Was able to make it.
Yeah, you missed out on the toys one, but we'll get him next week on that. So make sure you guys watch that episode next week. I think it's episode 4 of toys, collecting, and unboxing. And hopefully Stu can bring something to unbox. That'll be pretty cool.
I have a few things that we can unbox.
Yeah.
So I just want to do again a big shout out to Third Empire and to Greg Harms and Raj. Those guys are great. Awesome. Hawke, man, I'm just so glad that you and I found each other here in this little teeny tiny town and became fast friends. Also, shameless plug, you can always find me on my social media at 1.21 Gigawatts, Comics, Toys, and Nostalgia on Facebook and on Instagram. And my website is Gigawatts, Comics, Toys, and Nostalgia at gmail.com.
What else I was going to mention? On the unboxing, I'm going to be putting this together.
Ooh.
Right.
Very nice.
Joker bot, which I've been, I finally got the last piece to put together with it. So there, this is from the McFarlane Batman Beyond series that they put out. So I actually was able to buy 4 pieces. I think all the parts for this at about $20 New Zealand each. I think it's about 15 US maybe, or less. And then finally, I found someone local who actually had this, who was a big fan of Todd. Todd, what's his last name?
McFarlane.
No, Todd from Batman Beyond, the character.
Oh, Jason Todd?
Jason Todd, yeah. So she loved Jason Todd, so she bought the pack, but she had this sitting there. And we're talking about it, and she said, I've got this. I said, I'll buy it. So this cost me $20 New Zealand as well. So I was able to spend about 80 odd bucks to actually get this figure ready to go and get built. So I'm quite excited. Whereas usually if you buy this on its own for about 80 bucks or something, it's kind of, So we'll do that on live stream on Thursday, right. US and Friday New Zealand.
Sounds good. I'm excited. I have a package that came in from a toy that I ordered for my personal collection that I haven't opened up yet. So it's I'll have that, and I'll maybe show my shop a little bit if I can turn the camera a little bit. Yeah, show the shop around. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Like we'll have a lot more time for that one next week because since we've got a couple guests, we're going to have a longer period of So there'll be a lot more for you. We'll get to see your shop, get to see your room, and whatever else if you want to show off. That'll be awesome. Yeah. Hopefully, Greg Harms. I think is it Greg Harm and Raj would be joining us as well.
I think you got Ben Bristol coming in soon. Hopefully, we can get Greg and Raj in and have them do a show with us at some point. And so you got Ben Bristol coming in. Then you have Michael Cuddy somewhere along the line. You got Michael Cuddy coming up, which is going to be a good one, which is Enemy Transmission. I think you've got that. And he's going to talk about lots of different things. We got to get Austin in here. You need to get Austin in here. So, this whole Batman talk, he was probably drooling at the mouth because he's a Batman.
Well, he can send me an email. Like jump on our Facebook page on our PlungeCast or jump on our YouTube channel, and it's there and about. You'll get our email address there. Send me an email and send me all I ask is that you send me a short bio and images you want me to use because so I can get the promo out, share it with the world, and bring you on. And sometimes you got to remember, I live in the future, so it's about what's the time there in the US right now?
It is 9 o'clock.
Right.
9:20.
And it's 2:20 afternoon on Sunday here in New Zealand.
Nice.
Right. So it's Saturday there. So just keep that in mind. so we don't, get our wires crossed with the timetable. But thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. And thank you to our Kickstarter backers. We really appreciate you. Help us get to, 100% support, goal reach. And then, whatever else comes after that, we'll be happy with. But we just want to make sure this book gets out there. And being the first one from us here in New Zealand, I'm quite excited. And thank you for your backing it. And thank you, Stu, for joining us. And we'll look forward to you for next week. And Hawke, thank you again. And we'll see you next week as well on Livestream. And as we do our third, I think it's the third or fourth week as we round off on the third week of our Kickstarter project. And for everybody watching wherever you are, thank you. Really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to grow this stream, this channel. And we've got 3 different channels. We do the toy one, as we mentioned earlier, and we also do the Plunge X, which is for if you're a mature creator or artist, and you kind of do the more older, viewer audience, comic creations. That's where we're going to put you in. And if you're,
that's the one where my Grand Crisp has alcohol in it.
Right. And then also PlungeCast is for all ages, and we just get everybody, anybody, no matter how old you are, you're able to watch PlungeCast. So thank you. We're very mindful of our audiences. We're very mindful of our guest time, and really appreciate you. Any final words, guys?
And just thank everyone so much for supporting us to try and get Incredi-Girl out. Thank you so much. We really can't do this without you. Yep. So thank you. And please go. If you haven't backed it yet, go back it, and so that we can get this book in your hands.
Awesome. Stu.
Go back, back Incredi-Girl, man. It looks like a great comic book. I'm excited about it. I'm actually going to get on to Kickstarter right after I hang up with you guys and check it out. See if I can get a support you guys. Also, man,
love that.
For everybody out there that's watching this, don't worry about what anybody else says. Stay a geek. Stay young in heart. It is the best thing in the world. No matter what's happening in the real world, you can always come back and check out comic books and toys and feel just a little bit better,
That's what it's all about. Thank you, guys. Cook it down, everyone. Until next time.
Thanks, dude.
All right.
Hey, bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.